All right, guys, tutorial number 2, the basics of scripting. So if we want to import or create a mega room, we have to get the table ready for that. And so we can start by downloading a table. Let's say we want to make a mega room for black rose. So we could download that. We could open it up in VPX and take a look at the scripting and see what we need to do. And so the first thing we can do is look at the layers. And there's no dedicated VR layer in this one. So if we look, the VR elements are intermixed with the rest of the table elements. So if we wanted to, we could organize it a little better. We could create a VR minimal layer. We could take some of the minimal elements and just left click, mouse scroll down and put them in the minimal room just to get it a little more organized. The cab elements are still intermixed, so I'm just going to leave them for now. And what we can do is take a look at the scripting. And so each table is different. Black rose is a little bit old. It's going to have some older scripting, which we could update, or we could just leave it as it is and update with our options here. So this has a constant, a VR room 0, which means that whatever we choose later on in the script, based on what we choose here, it's going to tell it what to do with the VR elements. So right now they're turned off. If we choose 1, it's going to show the minimal room. 2 is a minimal room with different graphics. And 3 is ultra minimal. So essentially just the table, the back box, and the DMD. So what we can do is add an option 4. Let's call it mega. And we'll turn it to option 4. And then we want to search for this VR room and find it later in the script and see what we need to modify. So if we go down, there's a few elements. This one just has to do with the DMD. We'll leave that alone. This one has to do with the animated plungers. And then the next one is all the VR elements. And so this entire section here is related to VR. And what it essentially says is if VR is greater than 0, so if you've chosen one of those options above, 1, 2, 3, or now 4, then it's going to do the following. It's going to turn off the pin cab rails, or turn on the pin cab rails and turn off the score text. And then additionally, based on what you've chosen, it'll do these following things. So if the VR room is 1, it'll turn on this collection of items called VR cab. If it's 2, it'll turn on VR cab, and then it will alter the images of the minimal room. Option 3 will turn off the cab, VR cab collection, which 0 is off and 1 is on. And it will only show the back box, the back glass, and the DMD. And then the last thing down here is it says otherwise. So else means otherwise. If these aren't chosen, what should we do? And it will essentially turn off that VR cab collection. That's kind of a default. And so what we want to do is go look at that cab collection and see what is actually in there that is turning on and off. And so if we go to edit, you can see that the VR cab and the VR minimal room are all intertwined. So it's turning on and off the entire cab and minimal room. And we do want to separate those. We want the cab just by itself so that we can turn on the mega room. And so we'll take the 4 minimal room elements and remove those. And we probably don't need the logo because I don't want that displayed anyways. And so that'll just be, the VR cab will now just be the VR cab. And then we can create a new collection and call it VR min and add those so that the minimal room elements have their own collection. The floor, the roof, wall left, and wall right. And then we will create another one and we'll call it VR Mega. And this is essentially just getting ready for when we put our Mega Room elements, we'll add them all to here so that they can be turned on and off together. And then if we go back to the script, what we're going to need to do is a couple of things. So now this VR cab collection only includes the cab. So we also need to tell it that the minimal room and the mega room all have their own collections now. And so in this first one, it's the minimal room. So we want the cab on, we want the minimal room on, and we want the mega room off. And then we need to specify that in each one of these options. So in option 2, which is the minimal room with different images, it's going to be the same thing. Cab on, minimal room on, mega room off. Option 3 is that ultra minimal. And so actually we want all of these off. All we want to display is the back box, the back glass, the DMD, and then the table itself. And then we need to create an option 4. And when we create a new option, we need to make sure it includes an if and an end so that it completes. If you're choosing option 4, it will do the following, and then it will end, and it will not have to do the rest of this. And so we'll create that option here. This will be option 4. We want the cab on, we want the minimal room off, and eventually once we add it, we do want that mega room to turn on. And then at the end, the otherwise, we need to add those to that too. So essentially you're saying, oops, let's just do this. You're telling it you want otherwise, if all else fails, all of them will turn off. Okay, so that should follow this. We have option 4 chosen above, so it should turn the cab on, the minimal room elements off, and the mega room on. The only other thing is that logo. So that logo, if it's by default, it's not in a collection anymore. So if by default it's on, it's going to show no matter what. And so we do want to turn that off, and now it won't. It's not involved in any collections, and it's off, so it should stay off. And so now if we check, what we should see is the cabinet and it trying to display the mega room. And so that's exactly what it's doing. Once we add anything in that mega room element, those will all turn on. And let's say we go back to the script, and now we go up to the top where our options are, and we turn on, say, minimal room. That should show the normal minimal room. And if we turn it to option 2, that should show, my dog's barking, that should show the pirate version of that minimal room, which it does. So we got it all scripted in, working well, and it's ready for us to download a model, get into Blender, export that, and then add it to VPX, which we'll do in the next video. All right, guys, see you.